A lot of people think that avoidant attached people just don't like being in a relationship. They don't want connection, but this is a gross misunderstanding of the attachment style. And in my experience, many avoidant folks absolutely do want to be in a relationship. They do want connection, but they just need the right conditions in order for that connection to feel safe. And the trouble is that often what they seek is not what they truly need in order to thrive. Avoidant attached folks will often find themselves in relationship with anxious partners, not because it necessarily feels safe or gives them what they need, but because it feels familiar and it often mirrors a lot of the relational wounding that they are carrying on a subconscious level. We are all drawn to things that reinforce our view of the world, and in that kind of dynamic, avoidant people are able to collect more evidence in support of their subconscious beliefs that people are too much, that relationships are unsafe, that people want things from them that they can't provide, that closeness equals pressure, and that intimacy is overwhelming. So in this video, I'm going to unpack what avoidant people actually need to thrive in a relationship, even if it's not what they instinctively seek. And if you're watching this as someone who's more anxiously attached and you're in a relationship with an avoidant partner, please know that this is not about trying to bend yourself into a pretzel to become someone or something that you aren't in order to please or keep an avoidant partner. That is never what I would teach. But I encourage you to keep watching because this video will allow you to understand why your avoidant partner responds and reacts the way that they do, what some of their underlying fears and needs are that maybe they don't even know on a conscious level, and how you might be able to contribute to conditions in your relationship that really support your partner to soften their defenses and thrive in connection. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Stephanie Rigg. I'm a relationship coach and host of the On Attachment podcast, which is the world's leading podcast on how attachment shapes the way that we live and love. I also am someone who used to be anxiously attached myself and have done a lot of work to become more secure. I've been in multiple relationships with avoidant partners, some a bit of a train wreck, and now my current partner, who does lean more avoidant as well, we have a beautiful relationship. So I'm of the firm view that anxious avoidant relationships can work under the right conditions and with sufficient knowledge, awareness, and willingness on both sides to really make it work. So let's dive into these conditions that support avoidant partners to thrive in relationships. Okay, the first one is space without punishment. So if an avoidant person is able to take space, if they are able to have breathing room away from the relationship, time to themselves to recharge, this is absolutely vital to their sense of well-being. And if that's taken away from them, they very quickly become claustrophobic about relationships. This sense of literally, I can't breathe here. I feel like you're really encroaching on my physical, mental, emotional space, and that makes me want to push you away. And because I might lack the tools to communicate that, and I might even lack the awareness of what's going on for me, I just have this strong urge to protect myself by pulling away. That's what can drive a lot of these behaviors around disappearing and withdrawing and all of those things that can be really challenging about dating someone who's more avoidant. And a lot of the time that comes from this sense of, if I tell you I need space, you get really upset and start guilt tripping me, and then I feel bad and we have to have a whole big talk about it. So really creating the conditions in the relationship that it's okay to take space. Now, with the little asterisk here that I'm not talking about disappearing for weeks on end, but what you'll often find is that the more safety there is around someone having some time and space to themselves, the less time and space to themselves they need to take from a knee-jerk place of, this is too much, right? I just need to hit the kill switch on this and disappear. That tends not to happen when someone feels like they can speak up and take space without punishment, without consequences, without guilt. So space without punishment is a really important condition for avoidant people to be able to thrive in a relationship. Okay, the next one is both partners having a full and meaningful life outside of the relationship. So for avoidant folks, it can feel, again, really claustrophobic if the relationship takes up the whole field of view. And people with avoidant patterns tend to have a real aversion to a feeling of pressure and excessive dependence or reliance from their partner, which is why anxious partners who tend to just put all of their eggs in the relationship basket, so to speak, that can feel really suffocating for someone who's avoidant. This sense of, oh God, you've made me your entire world. That's a lot of pressure. All you want to do is spend time with me and you're happy just being in the relationship and nothing else. That feels like the ultimate prize for you. That can feel like a lot for someone with avoidant patterns. So avoidant folks will generally fare better in a relationship with someone who's got a bit more going on, who has really great friendships that they prioritize and make time for, who has hobbies, who has has work that they feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment around, someone whose energy and effort is well distributed across all of the pillars of their life, rather than someone who devotes 100% of their time and energy to the relationship and neglects all those other areas of life. Because while that might feel really loving and devotional for you as the anxious partner, like, wow, look how much I care, I'm neglecting all of these other things just to be available to you, that's actually likely to be a bit of a turn off for someone with avoidant attachment. And whether they realize it or not, they will eventually feel pressured and smothered by that level of excessive relationship focus. Okay, the next piece that really allows avoidant partners to thrive in relationship is being with someone who can self-regulate rather than being very emotionally volatile. So someone who has the tools and the capacity to stay relatively grounded. Big peaks and troughs and big expressive emotions that feel really uncontained are likely to feel very threatening to someone who's more avoidant, who doesn't have those big emotional outbursts themselves, who tends to be quite muted in their emotional expression. And remembering what we know about the origins of avoidant attachment, it's because they essentially had to switch off that emotional expressiveness at a very young age because it wasn't nurtured and responded to by their caregivers. So there's this sense of, if you're wanting me to fix your big emotions, I can't do that because I don't even know how to do that for myself. So feeling like that's just way too much. And if you're heaping all of that onto me and emotionally dumping onto me, again, my body goes into an absolute survival response. And I just want to get the hell out of here because that feels like way too much. So someone who can stay relatively grounded, who isn't looking for a partner to rescue them from their own emotions, like a parent would a child, that's going to be really supportive in allowing someone with avoidant patterns to actually stay in connection. Okay, next one, clear, calm, honest communication. I think a lot of anxious people really misunderstand this. They think, I'm not allowed to voice my needs because every time I voice my needs, they pull away or they say it's too much or whatever. And so the way I solve that is by trying not to have needs and not communicating when something's bothering me and basically burying it all. That is actually not what is supportive to avoidant people. And I can say this from personal experience, right? My partner is more fearful avoidant. And I think that what has allowed us to build the relationship that we have is the fact that I have been really clear and firm in my communication around, this does not work for me. And I say that from a grounded place, a clear, honest place. So being able to really establish the parameters and the guardrails from an honest and self-honoring place really creates a lot more respect in the relationship, and it puts everything on the table. And as much as avoidant people might not realize that they need that, they actually really, really thrive and do well under conditions of clear, open, and honest communication, with the caveat that it can't be coming from that place of anxious demand and protest and blame, because that is what will often elicit the defensiveness that anxious people then use as the reason why they can't communicate, because their partner always shuts down. There is another way, and it looks like empowered, honest, clear self-advocacy. Okay, the next piece that really allows avoidant people to thrive is the relationship progressing at a reasonable pace. Again, anxious partners tend to have this preference for lightning fast progression through particularly early dating. This sense of a slow burn is so excruciating because I just want to skip to the part where all of that uncertainty is out of the way and we're committed to each other and we know everything about each other and like all the cards are on the table and let's move in and let's get married. For avoidant people, even if they go along with that because they do feel attraction, they do feel excitement and optimism, there's likely to be at least another part of them that is sounding the alarm and going, this is too much, too fast, too soon. And I feel like I'm being dragged along here rather than feeling like I'm in a seat of agency and decisiveness and I'm actually determining what feels good for me. And so even if they do go along with it, it will often eventually backfire and this protective response will come up and might again hit the kill switch and say too much. And that's when you might get someone really suddenly withdrawing, pulling away, even if they'd been participating in the speed of the relationship up until that point. So whether they realize it or not, avoidant people will thrive under conditions of a slower burn. And this doesn't have to mean like really flaky or inconsistent, but not rushing at lightning speed, not having someone imposing deep intimacy and vulnerability on them on the second date. Tell me about your childhood. All of that kind of stuff is likely to feel overwhelming to their system and is likely to trigger some of those more avoidant protective responses that we all know so well. So a slower burn is likely to support an avoidant person in, again, being able to stay in connection rather than having to pull away from this place of fear and stress. Okay, and the last one, which I think is so important and often overlooked, is a relationship that balances heaviness with lightness, a relationship that actually feels good. Because what can so often happen is that people get into relationships and they have these insecure attachment patterns, and what starts as really exciting very quickly devolves into negative communication spirals where the anxious partner is always upset about something, the avoidant partner shuts down, the anxious partner escalates and protests, the avoidant partner feels demoralized and like nothing they do works, nothing they do is enough, and the anxious partner wants to sit down and have these heavy, serious relationship conversations 3 times a week where we sit on the couch for 3 hours and talk about our feelings, and there's seemingly no end to their dissatisfaction, their disappointment. Now, I hate to put this bluntly, but that is going to absolutely suck the life out of someone with avoidant attachment, and it is going to cause their relationship satisfaction to absolutely plummet. And unlike someone with anxious attachment patterns who can also have low relationship satisfaction but stay in it indefinitely with this relentless desire to fix and improve and work on the relationship, someone with avoidant patterns is more likely to step back from that and go, what are we even doing here? All we do is fight. All you do is tell me what's wrong. So it's really important for someone with avoidant patterns, if they want to thrive in relationship, want to feel that sense of relationship satisfaction, to balance some of the serious stuff. It's not about putting that to the side altogether, but actually for the positives to outweigh the negatives. And that shouldn't be controversial, right? This is good advice for any relationship, but the sense of connection and joy and fun and playfulness and lightness, that stuff should occupy more space in the relationship than all of the heaviness, right? And if the relational sphere is only about what's wrong all the time, that is not going to work for someone with avoidant patterns, because they do really value this sense of like positivity and enrichment and nourishment and joy and connection in a relationship, because otherwise they do tend to feel like, what are we even doing? What's the point? Okay, so I hope that's been really helpful. If you are watching this and nodding along and feeling like it all makes a lot of sense, I have heaps of free resources for you. My free training on how to heal anxious attachment and finally feel secure in life and love is a great place to start if you're someone with anxious patterns who's trying to understand their avoidant partner, trying to develop some of these positive qualities within yourself so that you can come to a relationship on a more level footing. That's definitely one that's worth checking out. I also have a free masterclass about anxious avoidant dynamics, an anxious attachment starter kit, all of the things. So check out the link in the description. And if you guys have any other requests for future videos you'd like me to do, feel free to pop them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will see you again soon. Thanks, guys.